Single dad and my fellow single dads. I can tell you this: no man goes into his marriage or becomes a father and plans on being a single dad. I can assure you, I certainly didn't. And the men I coach, most, if not all of them, didn't plan on being a single dad. This is my first live on YouTube on this channel. And we call this Single Dad's Comeback. And I'm going live because I don't want scripts. I don't want a manual. Matter of fact, I have very little experience with technology. I like to write. I like to read hard-covered and soft-covered books. But this is just like becoming a single dad. It didn't come with a manual. I don't even have a plan for today. I just threw myself out here and said, I'm going to go live today. Part of it was that I had made a commitment to somebody else that I was going to do it last week, and I didn't do it. So to maintain my commitment, not only to the person that called me out, but also to maintain my commitment to myself, I decided to go live. And I want to talk about being a single dad. I've been involved in various single dad face groups. I coach single dads. I'm an entrepreneur, ex-athlete, and single dad for officially about 8 years, but it's been much longer than that. It all happened when alcoholism hijacked our family, and it put me in a position to become a single dad. Now, one of the things that forced me to start my own Single Dad Comeback YouTube channel and eventually Facebook group is because I've gone into the Facebook groups that are out there, and some of them are fantastic, and there's a lot of support and a lot of great guys and brothers out there that are taking care of one another. But there's also a substantial amount of what I refer to as victim mentality. Guys that have been single parents or partly single parents, and I say single parents in the case of their children could possibly live with them half the time, and also with their ex-spouse, or the term baby mama. But a lot of these guys have been in that position for years, and they're still blaming their ex or their baby mama. And I realized that at one point I was that guy. However, I also realized that if I continued to have that mentality, victim mentality, that I was going to remain right where I was. And as the world passed me by, I was actually going to be falling backwards. Furthermore, I'm not doing anything positive for my children, who are arguably the most important people in my life. They were put on this earth because of the love that I had for my then wife, and that love led to two wonderful children, my son Alexander and my daughter Megan. Now, with that being said, when that marriage came to an end, those children were caught in the crossfire. And part of it was, of course, the situation with alcoholism hijacking our family. But the other part of it was me. And I had to recognize that I needed to make some changes. Now, I'm not coming in and feeling like, well, I'm a bad guy because I needed to make some changes. We all need to make changes. If we look ourselves in the mirror, especially as men, and most men don't want to hear this, but most men aren't living in the truth. We lie to ourselves because we don't want to face those things that need to change, many of us. But when we finally do, it becomes an eye-opening experience. Now, with all that being said, one of the things that happens, and this is really the topic that I wanted to get to today, is that if we're dedicated and successful single dads, we focus all or most of our attention on our kids. And what I realized is that was me. I was the guy who wanted to do everything on his own, needed to prove to everybody else that I could do this and I could take care of the kids, be an entrepreneur, run my businesses, take care of myself, pay the bills, all the other things that go with being a single parent and especially being a custodial single parent. But what happened along the way is I fell into this trap, which I call caregiver mentality. It's like a caregiver syndrome where we focus so much of our attention on our kids that we eventually let ourselves go. And I don't think it's something that we do intentionally. I think it's something that happens by default because we're just not paying attention to our own needs. And now some of you might be saying, dude, how do you not take care of your kids and take care of yourself? Well, I have this little phrase that I like to remind myself of, is that I need to be fit for the duty of caring for, supporting, and leading the people I love the most. And to do that, I need to take care of myself. And it sounds selfish by saying that, but I need to take care of myself first so that I can take care of those that I love and care about the most. And in many ways, if we're not taking care of ourselves, we become a burden on our kids. We become a burden on ourselves. We could become a burden on our kids. And the reason I say that is because the synergistic relationship between our physical health and our mental health and our emotional health and our spiritual health, if they're not tied together, we're losing traction. We're losing focus, and we're losing the ability to be that leader that we need to be. You know, I realized when I wasn't taking care of myself physically, I was also building up emotion. And in some ways, I almost felt like I would become a pressure cooker. And that pressure cooker feeling was spewing out onto my kids, you know, with a short fuse, with being tired, with being lethargic at times, the frustration and the anxiety that went with it. So what I'm saying here is that we as single dads and as men in general, even if you're not a single father, just a father in general, we need to take care of ourselves physically, emotionally, mentally, and spiritually in order for us to be, as I say, fit for the duty of taking care of the people we love the most. And if you are married and you're watching this, that's fantastic. I think that being married and understanding that we still need to take care of ourselves for the betterment of our entire family, for the betterment of our relationship. You know, part of what happens in these relationships when kids come in to the picture is that the relationship, it kind of bifurcates. And, you know, the wife and the husband kind of go about their own business. You know, they might come back at times, but that's when they lose traction in their relationship. And ultimately, in many ways, it becomes the demise. Now, of course, I mean, the situation that I was in is different, and some of you may have different situations. I'm not saying that it just happens because there's a bifurcation, but there are, things that you can do to prevent that relationship from becoming dull and eventually that relationship coming to an end. But I'm certainly off track here. I love to go live because, like I said, I don't want to have a script. I don't want this to be me reading off of a teleprompter and trying to project some image of perfection, because going live, you're not perfect, and I'm not perfect. None of us are perfect. And as a Christian, I realize that, I'm not perfect and I'm a sinner. And those two things are the reality. Those are the truth. And lying to myself and saying, hey, I can go and read off a script and make everybody think that I know my shit. Well, I can tell you, I do know my shit. I know my shit quite well because I've been through it. 10 years of being a single father. And if you add the years where I was living in chaos and doing everything, even though my spouse was still involved at the time, add another 5, I got 15 years of what I call the school of hard knocks. And with almost 3 decades of coaching in the health and wellness field, success coaching, business coaching, and now the term is life coaching, I think I bring enough to the table that I can speak intelligently. Now, am I learning? Yes, I'm learning every day. I'm learning something new every day so that I can share that with the men I'm called to serve. The men I'm called to serve are my fellow single dads. So for today, I wanted to highlight the fact that we need to take care of ourselves. And taking care of yourself is not selfish. And I get it. It seems like there's never enough time. It seems like that there's always the next shoe to drop. It seems like life is going to throw you a curveball in every direction. Believe me, I understand. And, the challenges will still continue to come. Even if you're taking care of yourself, it's not going to be easy. It's not easy. Being a single parent is not easy. And being a single parent up to a boy and a girl, well, that's a challenge in itself. As I like to say to many people that, hey, I know what it's like to be a teenage boy, but I don't know what it's like to be a teenage girl. But I do know what teenage boys are like. So as the father of a beautiful daughter, I'm very vigilant as to what's going on with the boys. But with that being said, there was no manual. And here's the other thing. As a single dad, when I first started this, I was looking for help. I was looking out there and saying, okay, who do I turn to when I have a question? Or who do I turn to when I'm, feeling down, or when I'm frustrated, or I'm anxious? And I realized that, we're a small minority. Custodial single dads make up about 15% of the single parents. And that could be a little bit more now. That was back when I looked at it. Maybe it's, even if it's 20%. So that means that, the women out there, they have, a much larger support group. And, my hope here is that I can be a sounding board, a support, a coach, a liaison to some of the other resources out there. And that starts today. That starts with this one video, this live video where I'm just taking some time to talk about being a single dad. And hopefully there'll be people out there, other single dads that see this video and can relate. Now, I'm going to talk about a host of other things. My goal is to come on live and be real and raw and relevant and share some experiences, but also to share some trials and tribulations that I've come across with other men. So if you can resonate to this video, if you even think that this is something that might be helpful to you, I ask you to subscribe. Subscribe to this channel. We're just starting it off, and I'm going live right now, and I probably have nobody watching, which is perfectly fine for me, because this is not about creating accolades and getting likes. I do know that I'm going to need likes in order to make this thing successful and to get in front of the people that I've been called to serve. However, I'm just going to chop wood and carry water, like they say, putting one foot in front of the other, sharing my story, my experience, the stories and experiences of other men, and do this with a serving heart. So, as I said, if this is something that you can relate to, or you can just at least appreciate, I ask you to like it. I ask you to subscribe. And you can also find me at SeanCarey.com. That's SeanCarey.com. And that's it for today. So take care of yourself. Take care of those you love the most. And until next time, see you soon.